So, thank you very much for tuning in once again. And you know what? I try my best to try and get some real cool variety in our show. Last week we had H. Dami, and last month we had Juggy D. We've got Ranbir the Sky coming up soon. But today, you do want to be getting involved. Trust me. If you can see, if you're tuning into our YouTube Live, or if it's a Salaam Radio YouTube Live, or Salaam Radio Facebook Live, please go and interact with us, communicate, connect, send us a message. Today we have seriously got an amazing talent of an amazing talent. I'm going to give you a bit of a write-up on him in a moment, but if you want to get involved, please do WhatsApp directly with text direct to 077 45 978. Alternatively, you can call straight into the studio here in Peterborough, 01733 602 133. Now, I don't think I can do this gentleman justice when I'm saying that I've just spent the last hour in the presence of greatness. I sincerely mean it. We have with us, aka known as, well, his name is Vikaash, aka known as Vic Drums. If you ever hashtag search Vic Drums, he is an amazing ambidextrous talent, a creative, an inner genius, somebody who understands the strength of playing an instrument, as in this case a tabla being an Indian double dual drum. If you can see my little measy, mess up in the video. If you can see me, I'm moving my hands around, yeah? So he plays the tabla. But when I'm talking about the discipline, a discipline of a person since the age of 11 who's been live gigging, this is something really special for tonight. We are absolutely going to be thrilled to be introducing Vikaash very shortly. He is the son of Chandu. Chandu was the legendary, and is, by the way, the legendary percussionist involved in the Alab group. That's it, the original Alab group. Last week with Hira Connection, and this week we're in with Alab Connection. What an empowerment, truly. So, without any further ado, I'm going to invite, urgently, because I'm more excited than you today, Vic, welcome to Salaam Radio, and welcome to the Empower Hour with myself, Sukhi Wahiwala.
Thank you so much.
God, I have just been blown away with listening to Vic. Very, very, at my house, we've been sitting there playing. If you can see us, he's over here. Sorry, I was just photobombing my own video there, if you hadn't watched it. I just saw some greatness. I've seen some greatness. When you see the next generation of what we used to look up to, the musicians we used to look up to, Alap, the group before Chandni was a group of its own called Alap, and they actually had a different singer, but the musicians are undoubtedly, in that era, probably the best musicians that we ever had in an eclectic group who were bonded together and really practiced and understood each other. Chandu was one of the founder people, and I'm telling you now, his son is here with us today, Vikaash. It's been amazing to listen to you.
Thank you so much.
It really has. And when I mean a next generation who genuinely has a humility, it's just wonderful. So do tell us a little bit about this childhood of yours. It must have been absolutely amazing being able. Well, actually, let's go back to that first gig. How your dad introduced it to you, the very first event that you had to go through for the empowerment of the next generation.
So the first gig I did on my own. So basically, I was coming back from school. Mum and Dad came to pick me up, and I was sitting in the back, minding my own business, thinking, am I in trouble today? And Dad goes, right, New Year's Eve, you have a gig. I was like, okay. I was like, with you? He goes, no, on your own.
Just like that?
Yeah. And I was like, okay then, thanks. So I was like super excited, like so excited. Got home, got my talkie out, started practicing, thinking, will I remember all the songs? Will I be able to do what he does on stage, And then, a couple of days before, I got super ill. from all the excitement probably, and but I still did the gig. The band were really encouraging. They, boosted me up before the gig, and that was my first experience.
I'm not sure if you've realised that actually a lot of our listeners, they tend to be sort of of the younger age as well. We get a lot of them turning up at the studio here in Peterborough to meet all the artists. So like that was last week as well. But I'm not sure if you heard what he said. He said he was ill 2 days before, whether it was a worry, but he still delivered. That is commitment. That's a professionalism that you cannot really buy. It has to come from within. It has to be ignited. So, I was listening to yourself just earlier on talking to my son, Ranveer, and you were just giving him a quick lesson in double A as well, for, double G. And you said, in essence, son, that you play the dal, you play it again and again, but when you actually get the hang of each one of those strengths in the soft, complete manner is when you get hooked.
That's exactly it, yeah. And they're the words of my father, basically, that are implanted into myself, where I couldn't sit still. And he was just like, look, try and sit still, and just when you get that love for it, when you feel that what you're actually playing, then you will enjoy it like fully. He always used to say, when you break that barrier, and I was like, what is that barrier he's talking about? But it does come to you, and then it's repetitive, but you just get into this zone. It's amazing. So
you were saying just there a moment ago, you said something like when you start to feel it. Tell me a bit about that. What does it feel? Feel? You're playing an instrument, right? So let's just give you my ignorant view, right? You're sitting there, you're listening to this, you're playing this music, it's a beat, isn't it?
In essence, yeah, but no.
That's what I wanted to hear.
It's kind of, the best way I could probably explain it is a bit of an intoxication almost.
That's an amazing way. It's a connection.
Yeah, where you just get into a zone, and then time doesn't become an object, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense.
You lose track of time. You forget what's going on, or what had gone on in your day, etc. And that's probably the best way to describe it.
So it's like an absorption, right? It's like you get involved, and I can now understand, because I studied resonant frequencies. So when you actually vibrate with something, which is what we call the energy, when you connect those two things together, is it correct in saying that that's when you just become, we call it true rapport.
Right.
Rapport is when there's just you and myself in the studio, and everyone's forgotten about everybody else.
Exactly.
And in that moment, you're just at one with it. Is that right?
Exactly that. Yeah.
And when do you think, your first gig was when you were 11 years old? When did you think you actually really started to realize that there was this oneness available?
I think probably when I started doing studio work, to be honest, because I was never into melody as such. I was always into what the tabla was playing, or what the drum element was of the song, or whatever. But when I started to feel melody, then it opened up a whole other world, and that was like, oh, okay, now that's what that feeling is. Certain bits of music make you feel certain ways.
Yes.
Whether it's a horror movie or a love story or whatever, it's that music playing in the background which gives you that feel of that thing on the TV or whatever, cinema.
Truly. Get it. I get it, yes.
And that's, for me, the feel as such.
So would I suggest something like this? Because I'm truly inspired, and I hope the listeners are really getting where I'm coming from, because I saw some greatness in front of me. Does that make sense? It's just like this humility, this connection with another soul via an instrument.
Yeah.
You were connecting with my son. He's only 13 years old, but he had lost the variable of what we were doing, and he was just in your voice, and he was just in there. He obviously was conscious about his double R.
Yeah.
But when you played, you weren't. You were just like, it became just one. And it's that shift, if I understand, from that I'm playing something to I am.
Right.
Does that make sense? You know, like
Yeah.
you become something. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. It's a lot of artists speak of alter egos, and that's kind of what it is. You just get into a zone where you're just like, that's me on stage, that's me off stage,
Got it.
sort of thing.
Yeah, love
Or
it.
that's when I'm sitting with my instrument, and that's when I'm doing the washing up, for example.
I respect that. Yeah, totally.
So, yeah.
So, would you say just on the same basis? Because I delve into the internal psycho for quite some, quite some years now. So I've assisted people into actually getting a handle of how their brain looks or how their world looks like. Because
Right.
there's an inside and an outside, isn't there? Right. So, could I suggest that you're an individual who likes processes?
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell. Right. Got it. So. I've been talking to many people, and I'm not joking. Seriously, this is a genuine... If you're listening just now, if you've just tuned in, this is Salaam Radio with your host today, Sukhi Wahiwala, and we are with Vikaash, who is a.k.a. also known as Vic Drums. If you haven't seen our promo that we put out, you really need to, because there's an excellence. I was blown away when I really watched what Vikaash was actually doing in our recordings. That recording, he was playing double on one side with one hand, and he was ambidextrously working with a recording device, then playing the drum at the same time, and it was all consistent. It is genuine genius. But going back to what we were just talking about a moment ago, is it correct in saying that when you actually lose yourself in that connection between you and your drum, or the drum or the instrument as a whole, that's when you've kind of arrived?
Do you ever really arrive? I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Such a beautiful question, beautiful answer.
As I was saying earlier, like, I think music is such a massive subject, and as I mentioned earlier, one lifetime's not enough, because there's so much depth, and arriving, I'm not sure if that's the correct term. I think for me, I try to find my voice in what I play.
I understand that. I get it.
Yeah, so I don't know if that really answers your question.
It does, actually. So if I could reframe it, it'd be easier. So if I can understand it. So, we are kind of, sometimes we walk around in the world today and we end up becoming this, a bit like a disconnected zombie. Does that make sense? You're walking around, your day's your day, you've gone through your billion thoughts per day, and you're not necessarily conscious about it.
Right.
But then when you hold something that truly amplifies your feeling, and in your case, what you've said beautifully, your voice, it just brings you to life, right?
Right.
So you can express yourself through this new voice. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Because we were talking about some stuff earlier on, and I was trying to understand that you said to my son in specific, if I can share this openly, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
It was very simple. He was playing, and you were very, very complimentary. So you were really encouraging him, which I thought was just beautiful. And then on the same token, you also said, he said, well, sometimes I find myself, ad-libbing and drifting, because you said to him that consistency is the key when it comes to an instrument. You've got to have this beautiful consistency. Yes.
Right.
But then what happened is when he started saying, well, actually, sometimes I like to play around with it, you also didn't stunt that. You said, no, that's your creativity.
Right.
Let that come through as well.
Yeah.
But the consistency is your profession. It's your thing. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. In terms of, tabla balls, we have phrases or certain lessons, exercises that we learn, but one thing that Dad always says is, have your people that you look up to, who inspire you, and learn from them, but don't try and be them.
Oh, wow.
Like, have your own voice, your own style of playing as such, and that's your creative side. That's what you need to kind of, in my opinion, tap into because it's so easy to go, oh, they play that, and a lot of stuff is similar. A lot of stuff we do play the same. There's so many great tabla players around.
That's right.
But you know, it's like when Zakir Hussain, who's one of the world's best, plays the same thing as, or someone else plays the same thing as him, why does it not sound the same?
Oh, okay.
Because he's got his voice in it.
Yeah, he's got his feel, right?
Right.
Transference.
Yeah.
I love it.
And that's come through his, well, it's his brain, isn't it? It's his thought process, and that's really important, I think.
Wow. So, if any of the if there's any musicians listening, I'm going to say to you, this conversation, I'm willing and I'm hoping that it's going to basically be in a position where it's going to what we call ascend yourself. You know, there's some kind of, you either play the instrument, as we were talking around my house, we were saying a moment ago, you said you either play the instrument, or realistically you become the instrument, and it becomes you, right?
Right.
So there's that oneness between expressive of yourself and as you just said beautifully there, is that even if you played the same thing and there was two the most amazing individuals playing there, it would sound different.
Yeah.
Because their feeling would come through it.
Yeah.
You know? Now, I don't want to go into quantum physics here, but that I get that, yes?
Yeah.
It fully understands that. But I'm going to go back, if I may, just to ask a deeper question, because I'm still in awe that you're Chandu's son. I am seriously. Please tell me a little bit more about your dad. You know, I mean, he must have been through some serious challenges in his life. You know, how did he start his music career? Because when I mean, Alap was probably the best collection of some of the best instrument players and musicians that gelled and bonded. I'm not underestimating that context. Please share.
So Dad's journey from the beginning.
Well, let's try it.
So I'll try and put it quickly. So when he was young, they came from not so much of a well-off background, and they couldn't afford tabla. But Dad was hell-bent on playing just something that he had inside him. So he used to get the tubs of ghee, and then he'd I think he made friends with some of the tire guys. This was in Kenya.
So we're talking about East Africa now.
Yeah.
And these ghee are just metal tubs, right?
Metal tubs, yeah,
like for oil and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he'd get the inner tube of a tire, and he'd stretch that over the tub to make his own.
Are you serious?
Versions of tablas, yeah.
So innovation.
Yeah,
Oh
basically. God. And then he was a bit of a cheeky young lad, which is where I get it from. But he would then he went to the mandir, where he'd go, the temple where he'd pray, and he saw some guy playing tabla.
Yeah.
And that was like gold for him. He's like, I struck gold,
oh
yeah.
God.
And he used to go in, pretend to pray, have a look, and kind of like unlatch the window when no one's looking.
Of the temple.
Then he'd know when everyone's gone. He'd jump through the window, get the tabla out, start playing.
So he would actually borrow, in essence, the community tabla to make a play.
Exactly.
And all because of the fact that he had this voice that he wanted to bring out, and he couldn't afford the tabla himself.
Right, exactly. I think there was a talk of his elder brother who passed away, playing tabla as well, but I'm not 100% on that story or what the thing. I've never met him, unfortunately, but there was something in Dad, and he, you know, it's that thing of no matter what the circumstances, that was his goal. That's what he wanted to do.
Nothing was getting in the way.
Nothing was going to get in his way. And then he there was a tabla player in Kenya at the time. He went away, I think, to England, and then there was not really a tabla player about. And then Dad, they said to the priest, who apparently knew who Dad used to sneak in but never said anything.
Oh.
And they said, what we can do, there's a festival called Navratri, which is a 9-day festival, and who's going to play? And the priest said, well, Jandu will play. And everyone's like,
He can't play.
yeah, exactly. But he did. And he played the full 9 days. He got a little gift from them, which was nice. And that was kind of the beginning of his...
The Genesis.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's amazing how God has eyes everywhere. You know, he
Yeah.
thought he was sneaking in and playing on his
Right.
own, but the Pandit, a.k.a. the priest of,
Yeah.
the temple, just knew.
Yeah.
And he had his eye on him.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful story. So how has all this transferred into you? I mean, what was your journey with your jazz? But then, more importantly, what is your journey with your instrument now?
So actually, I wanted to be a footballer. And Dad was like, yeah, I'm not sure that's going to work really. Because he actually said to me, I remember we were sitting on the dinner table, he goes, son, answer me something. How many Indians do you see on the football pitch? I was like, yeah, good point. And he drew me out on a piece of paper a scale. So one had football on one side, one had tabla. And he was like, make the scale of which one you want to do. And first I was like, football. That's like what I want to do. That was my number one choice. And he went to the little boy's room, and then he came back, and by the time he came back, I scribbled it out and put it the other way.
Wow.
And my incentive was actually, so if you do a gig, you know, you can buy those Nikes that you always wanted.
Oh, wow.
So there was a bit of that involved as well, because I would have like, not Nikes, but Nicks, or I'd have like, you know,
Yeah.
the equivalent of.
Equivalents, as you would, yes. Due to financial, you know, it was
Right.
the era. It was
Yeah.
the time. It was like that.
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, I'm probably being a bit dramatic, but that's what I remember. And then I was like, actually, that's a good idea, you know. I can go do my gigs, get my whatever I want. And that's kind of what, because when I was really young, Dad says I had a natural ability to just pick up stuff. He said he went to make a cup of tea, and he heard someone playing tabla.
Wow.
And it was myself, and I was playing a tal called Deep Chandi. And he was like, I've never taught him that. Like, no one's taught him that. How has he just picked it up? And he was like, from then,
He knew.
he kind of was like, okay, we're gonna get this one on.
We're going to get him more football.
Yeah, yeah. But this was actually way before the football bit.
Yeah.
And
So how old were you with this sort of time?
that was when I was about 4 or 5-ish.
4 or 5 playing Deep Chandi. That's not
Yeah.
an easy tal.
So then obviously you grow up, you kind of get your rebellious stages and stuff, and that's when I got into sports and a bit more and stuff like that. And then went off music a little bit.
Okay.
In the sense of I was just having too much fun playing with my friends, etc., rather than sitting down and playing tabla, because I was so hyperactive as a kid. And then that was kind of, I think, how he drew me back
Oh, right.
to it, you know. And then it just became like, this is actually what I want to do,
And I like it.
and I love it. Like, it's just
Love.
the best feeling being on stage. For me, it's just, nothing beats it. That feeling, especially some of the gigs I've done where there's like thousands of people in front of you, and you just got that energy of those people. It's unbeatable. It's crazy.
Crazy. I'm not joking, seriously. I can feel the vibration of love right now in front of me. When I'm sensing a conversation, when somebody's really connected with something, it's just like you just become one. So, just, you know, can you believe the time has gone so quickly? Do you realize we've got 1 minute left?
Nice.
1
Really?
minute left. That's it. how quick. If you want to get involved, if you're a budding artist and you want to do something to do with music, I have honestly a greatness in front of me right now, and I'm sitting here and I've seen him talk to my son and ignite something inside of him that he actually they've made a little deal. You know, they've got this deal for 2 weeks. If you please, you know, just do your best. Tune in, ask a question if you've got anything. You know what the Empower Hour is about. We have the best in the industry. We bring people over here to empower you here in little Peterborough and around the world through our actual movements and through Facebook Live and YouTube Live. We're on the last 10 seconds. We are with one of the greatest we have, you know, an amazing talent today, serious genius. After the break, tune back in because we'll be playing some live and we're going to learn more about his life. This is an amazing time with Vic Drums. See you shortly. Welcome back to the Empower Hour here with myself, Sukhi Wahiwala, and we have Vic Drums, otherwise known as Vikaash, because I prefer that one myself. I know wherever you hashtags it, take it away if you can see it. Tana, welcome back. So, hey Vic, back over here. We're going to take a seat again. So I've got your mic off on there. Welcome back. Have you enjoyed earlier on? We've had it just went like that, didn't it, Vikaash?
So quick.
So interesting as well. Such a beautiful rendition of the inner connection with your music. And we've just heard him play again there. If you've not heard before, it's Vikaash, Vic Drums, hashtags, go in there, YouTube, everything is full. Our own tags are going to be there. If you look on Facebook Live, join in. Salaam Radio, welcome back. So, I want to take the story just a slightly different place because obviously we're going to be humbled with your excellence once again a bit later on. But I want to just talk a bit about your personal journey. I mean, you really are, you're what we call, in my world, we call them igniters. People who ignite the genesis in others. Does that make sense?
Right.
And I think that's a really beautiful accolade to have. So what's your journey been?
My journey has been kind of, well, it started off in the Bollywood circuit, with Bollywood bands, and then I thought there's got to be more that I could do with my instrument and stuff, and I started looking at people like Talvin Singh, who done amazing stuff in my opinion for doubler players, to break out of the norm circuit. And I watched an interview of his that my dad had on VHS.
VHS, for all the listeners, we're showing our age now.
Old school.
That's the old school video recorders,
right.
Yeah? Sorry, carry on.
So then I thought, okay, what can I do? How can I broaden my horizons as such? Then a few other opportunities came about. So I started, I did a show with Rifco Arts called Britain's Got Bhangra. That was a theatre show. Okay. And that was kind of my first... No, actually, tell a lie. Before that, I was with a band called Trick Baby. And we actually did a movie called Bluffmaster, the title track for that.
What? Bollywood?
Yeah.
How amazing is that?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then, so I was kind of like messing about with different kind of rhythms with that music and stuff like that, trying to find myself, my sound, and not just play the traditional stuff. Yeah. Although if it works, it works. You know, if that's what the track requires, that's what the track requires. And then I got into the theatre stuff. Again, for that show, a majority of traditional stuff. But there was a few pieces where you could just play. You were given the chance to go, right, do something for that.
So the freedom.
Yeah, exactly. And then I started doing other theatre shows. I then, actually before that, I did a gig with an artist called MIA.
MIA? Okay.
Who's a phenomenal rapper. She's from here. Did New York with her, Central Park.
Wow.
Yeah, I was young, and
What sort of age?
I must have been, I think, 16-ish.
16.
I think
and you
around
performed in Central Park in New York itself.
Yeah, that was
Wow.
scary. But yeah, so that kind of, when I heard her music, I was like, okay, so that's another avenue. That's a kind of another kind of more where I want to be with it all, you know. Then I got the opportunity to play with Shakira. That was super cool.
The Shakira?
The Shakira, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
And how was that as an experience? You know, I know you've had that. I mean, being connected with a rapper at such a level at such a young age, then going to such what we classify as A-listers, going to something like Shakira.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened? What did you feel like inside, and what did it add to your life?
well, it was. I was actually really shy back then when I was on stage, very kind of like in head down, you know, just play my instrument. And,
Yeah.
You know, so and obviously you're sitting next to Shakira. That's like.
Where do I go?
Like,
what do I
yeah,
do? Is this
it's
real?
like,
Shall I pinch
yeah,
myself?
exactly.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
So it was amazing. But then I was like, okay, that's the pop stuff. That's the theatre stuff. Where else can this go? Then I started working with Asian Dub Foundation for a little while.
Classic. Amazing. Everyone knows the names.
Yeah, so I was working with John Pandit, who's the DJ from there. So they had two branches. One was live, and one was sound system. So I was working with the sound system at that time. Those gigs were just phenomenal, and that, I think, was where I really kind of thought, I can just be free.
Wow.
You can play whatever comes into your head, and that's when I started to open up.
Got it. So instead of the constraints.
Right, exactly. And that's when I was like, there's so much more.
Wow.
And I love drum and bass. So I was like, okay, and these two drums here literally took me around the world.
These actual double R pieces, yes.
Well, this one, yeah, definitely. This one I acquired a little bit later on. This is a really old drum that was gifted to me. But yeah, so then I thought, there's so much I can do. There's so much out there that these instruments can do. It's not just having to play one type of music. You don't have to just play, you know, classical music. You don't just have to, genre, or Bollywood, or it's okay, it was probably catered for that or made for that kind of stuff, but that doesn't mean you just have to use it for that.
No, that makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. So it's not that glass packaging you've got to have.
Yeah.
The stereotypes.
Right.
Yeah?
Exactly. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do, is to say, for example, when I go into a studio, depending on the track, of course, but I think, okay, who's called me in? If it's a Bollywood genre track or Bhangra track, then I would stick to probably more that style of playing.
I understand, yes.
However, if I've got the freedom to not play traditional stuff, I'd rather go there.
So that makes so much sense. So, for example, is it like kind of, do I understand this correctly? Is it like wearing a jacket? You know, you wear a particular dress code for certain things, and you wear a different dress code for something else. Is it sort of like, does it bring that out of you? Not necessarily, but it's just a metaphoric understanding.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but I think my main thing is to try and break from the norm as much as possible. But then you have to do what's required for the job as well. You can't
Absolutely.
just go in and, you know, play everything that you learn in one show or one recording.
Makes sense.
And that's one thing Dad always taught me as well, was application is massive. And to the best of my ability, I do what I can with that.
Now, I'm just going to ask you a question, because I had a text come through on my phone earlier on, and it said something along the lines of this. It said, creativity.
Right.
Yeah, I saw you do this with my son as well. You know, being creative, you know, playing his own creative little beats on the double I itself.
Yeah.
But there was another word that you came up with, that consistency, that commitment.
Yeah.
About really giving it the hours until
Yeah.
you've actually felt it.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit more about that? Because I'm sure there's lots of budding instrument players, for example, musicians, full stop, whether they're a vocalist, whether they're an instrument player, whether they're a drum player, percussion, or whether they're a string instrument. At a certain age or a certain point, it no longer becomes a learning chore. Is that correct? So it's like it gets into the unconscious realm. Is that right?
Yeah. I think... Yeah, I think there's a lot of different type of people. People get into music because they love the instrument and they naturally want to do it. They do it for themselves. Then there's the other ones who do it because they may be interested, or their parents want them to, or you know. But I think if I believe that there's naturally gifted musicians out there, you know, who just got it. It's a gift from God, in my opinion.
But do you think they still have to learn the craft and actually give it the hours?
They do, yeah, I believe so. The subject of practice is I'll probably have people who have other opinions, but obviously the more you practice, the better it is. But I think it's really important to have a good teacher, good mentors, because if you're practicing the wrong thing for hours, then that's as good as not practicing. Do you see what I mean?
So beautifully said.
You know, people, I've heard people practicing for hours and then they're frustrated with themselves. Oh, I can't get this, I can't get, but because maybe their technique is wrong, or they haven't been shown the little secret of the task.
Yes.
And I think in terms of commitment wise and stuff like that, yes, you do have to put in the hours, but those hours have to be very well guided.
That's so beautifully said.
And within that, I feel then you enjoy it, you know, then you really enjoy it. My dad always used to be like, oh, listen to this person play, look at how they're playing, listen to how that's happening. And that, then when you start to understand that, it no longer becomes just a beat, it becomes like a story that they're telling almost within their groove. An example of that would be Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan's tabla player.
One of the greatest, yes.
His tabla player Dildar Ji is, for me, just phenomenal. And his main job is to play one groove. Questionable, but you know, he's got his... Once he sits in that groove, it's just, he's like a runaway train. You can't stop that guy.
Could I ask a question? I mean,
Sure.
I know this is totally improv, but I'm afraid we do this sort of stuff here on the Salaam Radio Empower Hour with myself, Sukhi. So could you just give us an example of what you're talking about, Dildar, and what we're talking about? What specific would be his simple groove that you said in specific?
I will humbly attempt it.
Bless, go for it. If you can see here on our YouTube and our digital broadcasting here, you're going to see excellence and genius in play. So please carry on.
So, for example, he will possibly play a groove like. poor example, but his voice when he plays, like his bass pattern is just phenomenal, and his consistency of like even when he's going like he's just phenomenal. I mean, what he does I cannot do.
No. Yeah, of course, but
he's one of my massive inspirations.
So this is AKA also known as a bit of a qawwali beat, huh?
Yes.
And so what is this actually called?
I suppose the technical term will be gerwa.
I thought so, yes. Gerwa.
But yeah, the qawwali style of playing, which is normally played on a different bass actually, rather than a tabla bass.
Oh right. So what's the difference there then? What would it be like? Because the tabla bass, if you can see in the video, it's actually you can see it quite well there.
Okay,
so,
cool.
So it's basically it's a lovely sort of a rounded shape. Yes.
Yeah. Whereas they called, if I'm not mistaken, the qawwali dama, which is made out. So this is made out of metal.
Mm-hmm.
That would be made out of wood, slightly taller, and normally they would play with flour, but atta, like roti atta.
My goodness.
On top, rather than this brown black spot that
so
you see.
So literally like a atta replaced on there. So what would happen to the sound? Would it be different or?
Yeah, the sound's different. The sound that they get out is different. Really tough to play. I mean, and you know, it's a
tough on the hands.
It's a different technique. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
So if I asked you just to, if you don't mind, because I'm getting spoilt here. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm totally carried away and engrossed. You know, when something touches you so warmly, and more importantly, when it's delivered with such greatness and humility, respect for the teachers of past. You know, we stand on the giants that stood before us. It's inspiring.
Right.
What would you like to kind of, if somebody was trying to learn a little bit of tabla, what would the first kind of ball be, maybe?
Oh,
I know it's a hard one, but just something you'd probably
teach
teaching my son, maybe. Just maybe a bit of that.
You know, a lot of people would maybe start on ge ge tite, so ge ge na na, and then kali ge ge na na, which is a simple kind of exercise. Yeah. Probably quite a common one. But it's a good one to start on. Yeah. It's simple, it's effective.
And whilst we're on that, I mean, because I can't believe how fast the time is running, you know. We have only 8 minutes left. So if you don't mind, just give us something that you would like to play out of your own heart, something new or something that you believe is crossing between, because you said it really kind of inspires you to come out of that norm and break that norm and be creative when you were playing the Dub Foundation, etc. So yeah, something like that. Would you mind?
I'll give it a go, yeah.
God bless. Yeah, please do. And if you want to say anything, you're welcome to. We've got 2 mics up for you. Beautiful. Wow. I'm not joking. I'm mesmerized, if you don't mind. I'm just loving it. You've got to give me some more. You've got to give me something that just comes from there. Improvise, whatever you want right now.
I'll play something a bit more kind of traditional.
I've got to give you, I'm afraid. You've humbled us so much. It's unbelievable. We've got some beautiful, beautiful questions, and we've had an amazing comment from Jeevan, and she said, all my family is watching this live, hey, with love. So hi, Jeevan, and I've been told, a little Dickie Bird told me that it's actually, it's your mum.
All right, Mum.
Yeah, you can see it now. The whole family's around there, and I'm going to say lovely, lovely namaskar and sat sri akal to Chandu Paji, and to say hello as well. It's so beautiful to see such warm love. And there's another question as well that's come through. We haven't got a name for it, but it's come through on WhatsApp. It says, you talk about creativity in your music, yeah? And we're going on to saying that, do you tailor your instruments? Have you made any? You know, that kind of thing. Do you do something special like that?
Yeah. So basically, I actually skin all my own instruments. I get the skins made. So the skins are made. That's a tough job. But I string them all myself. And yeah, I do try to, if I've got a certain gig, I choose a certain drum. So maybe a different bass. Or obviously this is tuned in about an F. And so you need different keys, etc., etc. But yeah, I do cater for every gig also, or in recording that I'm going to. Yeah.
And what about actually kind of, that's restringing them, but have you kind of improvised with a style, you know, of instrument?
Yeah,
maybe
I've tried
messed around a little bit.
Yeah, tried making my own types of drums, and Trilok Gurtu and Shivamani, they use this kick hand drum, what's it called? Hand kick. Sorry.
And who are the people, sorry?
Trilok Gurtu and Shivamani.
Trilok Gurtu and Shivamani.
Yeah.
And they are sort of like, excuse my ignorance.
They play drums. Yeah.
Drums.
They're fantastic. Percussionist, drummers, whatever
all round
category you want to put them in. Yeah, but drums in that respect, and I've made my own versions of that. So I love all that side. My granddad was a carpenter, so I love messing about with stuff like that as well.
Oh, wow. I mean, if you would like whoever did send that on WhatsApp to give us your name, then I'll even mention your name. So, you know, we've got Nisha Kaur. If I can just read this out, wait a second. How do you stay so humble through all your, it says, successes? Because this is, I'm not joking. And Nisha, thank you very much for picking this up. It's tremendous that you picked this up. I think you can see it through the camera as well, and then through the voice, because voice carries all this, doesn't it? It's like the music carries your voice. How do you stay so humble? Because you really have come from for us in the music environment, you've come from royalty. It's like an amazing touch.
I think, how do I stay so humble? I think scared of my dad beating me. No, I'm joking.
How funny was that? Yeah. No, and just for everybody else, no, he does not beat his dad.
No, I think being humble is really important. Dad said to me, you know, there's always someone better around the corner, even if you haven't thought of.
Okay, so which one?
They haven't learned as much as you, or whatever it is. There will always be someone thinking of something different, so you could never be the best.
Got it. Yeah, so sorry to disrupt there, but I've got that, the humility will cover. We've actually got a caller in, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And hello, caller. What is your name, please? Hello? Hello, can you hear us live?
Yes, hello.
Hi, welcome. Welcome to the Empower Hour with ourselves, Sukhi, and our amazing Vic Drums. And your name, please?
My name is Kamala Vatkam. I'm Chandu's sister and my sister Hasu. We are all watching him live. We're very, very proud of him. We love him the best.
Wonderful. Do you have a question, or do you want to tell us? Actually, do you know what? You know him, right? So tell us something beautiful about his commitment to his trade.
Yes, we can.
If you put the volume down just on the radio in the background, then you won't get the reflux. If it's possible, just turn the main radio down, and you can hear us directly. Hello? Okay, so we'll continue. We've got 2 minutes left, so thank you very much for calling in just a moment ago. We've got some more calls and more people saying some stuff here. We've got Angola from APR, and she says, what drives you? What drives you? What keeps you committed to your craft?
Lots of things drive me. I think the culture of the instrument. In all honesty, success drives me a lot, and also carrying on the family tradition drives me.
Oh, wow! So do you feel that you've actually? It's so warm to see that. Does it feel that sort of that carrying on? We're down to nearly our last minute, so I'm really, really excited to say the tradition, the humility. We were touching on humility before the caller came in. Do you feel that family tradition and the sheer fact that the excellence of your dad and yourself and your creativity has shone through?
Hopefully, I've done him proud in some respect.
Well, I'm very, very certain. I'm very certain he is very, very proud of yourself.
But yeah,
as we all are.
Oh, thanks. But yeah, just literally trying to do my best to make the instrument go further as well.
So that's
more
amazing.
Places.
Furthering the craft. I have to apologise, but what a session we've had. We've had a live training. We've had so much here. Remember, salamradiohere.co.uk, and it's myself, Sukhi Wahiwala, with Empower Hour. Today we had Vikaash and Vic Drums, if you wanted to search them up. If people want to get hold of you quickly, you've got 10 seconds, where would they get hold of you?
Facebook, Vikaash Sankadecha, or Vic Drums. Insta, Vic_drums with a Z.
Thank you very much. Good night.